Well, as we've been discussing all day, all eyes on this dead man walking jobs read that we're expecting out tonight in the US. But the next door neighbours in Canada aren't having it all their own way either. Far more exposed to China and further up on its naughty list than we are. Canada is facing its own unemployment high noon later tonight. Joining us for more, XM Australia CEO Peter McGuire. He's Skyping in live from Sydney. Peter, good to see you on this Friday afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. When it comes to Canada, and I suppose the moves of the Loonie, is it down to unemployment or is it more being pushed around by the price of oil right now?
I think they're getting, good afternoon, Nadine. I think they're getting a double hit. There's no doubt as far as the price of oil having it collapsed, and we all know what's transpired in the last 6 to 8 weeks on that side. And then you've got the job side where you've had 1 million jobs lost in March and what impact that has going forward. So you've got unemployment numbers that are just cratering, and what the chance of turnaround is and how long it's going to take for, as far as re-engagement. So all these numbers are really starting to crystallize, and over the next matter of days, it's going to be, I think, a reality check for pretty much the Western world, how we move on from here. So you've got Canada, then, of course, the US, and everyone in between.
Nonetheless, a good week for risk assets, or certainly a very good last 48 hours for risk assets. I'm just taking a look at the Aussie dollar after watching it plunge lower and lower and lower from sort of mid last year to now. It's been quite encouraging to watch it over the last 6 weeks. What are you seeing in the currency markets?
It's been a glory trade. It's been absolutely outstanding. It's been one of the best performers globally, and we all know, what's happened over that matter of time. And there's probably even upward trajectory from here. So it's a good thing as far as for the Aussie, and where it's got the potential to run, probably a cent or more, I'd say possibly by end of month. So I think the momentum is going to keep it going. I feel as though that those numbers coming out tonight are going to be, as we all know, that 20 to 22 million handle. As far as unemployment, I feel as though that the US dollar may come off a little bit. It'll probably force ours up a bit. And there's a little bit of an attraction there also, of course, with the way that China's turned around in the last matter of weeks. So it's helping ours go along quite nicely.
So Peter, let me broaden that out. Not just the Aussie dollar, but risk assets more generally. You think we've got a nice patch ahead?
Well, I know I'm not necessarily convinced of that. I feel as though that these unemployment numbers, well, I think we've had a very, very I don't know. It's hard to even fathom. I've never seen anything like this, and no one has. You're talking about unemployment hitting 16% in the US tonight, and we could actually see a 20% handle over the next matter of months. So what that does to an economy, what it does to supply chains, small to medium-sized enterprises, how they re-engage, and what happens to all sorts of sectors. So I think possibly it's hard to forecast where we move forward. It's been a nice rally to the upside, as we all know, and maybe it's a sucker rally.
Oil has been such an interesting one as of late. That's another one that I'm sure you're shaking your head at as well. But we do know the real drivers there. We know supply demand. Yep. The equation has just not been adding up as of late. We're seeing oil rising in Asia, early signs of stabilizing demand, I suppose. Not only are we seeing US producers wind back, we're seeing the Saudis say that they will look to lift prices. But with the talk of the economies opening up, US, Australia, we heard it from the National Cabinet today. Do you think that the demand side as well is now going to play more of a dynamic influence on the price of oil going forward?
I think in a lot of ways it will, and the other side, of course, just adding a little bit to that, you've seen the Baker Hughes rig count down to around about 408. It's down 582 rigs from this time last year. So you've lost the best part of, you're at 408 now, you're at the best part of 900, nearly 1,000. And it's a reality check, isn't it? I mean, that's how much the industry's cratered in that period of 12 months. So there's the first part. You're looking at the Saudis and the US to cut oil output, and we're all understanding that yes, they are. So where it goes from here, everyone wants to see, if you're a producer, that is, higher prices. But I think that the handbrake, Nadine, is going to be from a consumption side, whether that really does engage quickly, if it's a quick turnaround. And I don't know, how do you afford to put petrol in the car if you've got 20% unemployment in the States? How do you get re-engagement? I'm just still a little bit scratching my head going, I've never studied this in business school, don't quite understand the inputs.
But are you at least encouraged that we are seeing such a reduction in production coming through in the US shale oil producers? I mean, it appears as if potentially investors have been influential in that sort of outcome. Would you agree?
You have to, absolutely. And you can see what's happened to the likes of Exxon that have gone from the might of, the titans of Wall Street to now they're just a mediocre little company. So, that's the reality check as far as capitalisation of these companies and how they bounce back also. So are they all right for M&A? What goes on as far as the only one thing that really stands apart from the whole equation is strength of balance sheet, and how that plays out over the next couple of months is going to be very fascinating. So the companies that have got plenty of debt, how do they structure moving forward, and who has an appetite to actually come to the rescue for a lot of these?
Peter, are there any big announcements next week that you're keeping your eye on once we've got over the hurdle of the job starter?
I'm just going to let the week pan out. I feel as though that what happens tonight is going to be it's going to be incredibly tough to really take a deep breath from, and what that comes and how that trades tonight in New York leading into the Asian market next week. I think it's really going to hit the market quite savagely, and just the data coming forward is just the reality of the new normal.
Interesting. Peter McGuire, I think I've known you for a long time. I've never seen you so sort of confounded and potentially even at a loss for words as to what we're going to be expecting in the wake of this jobs read. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Have a great weekend, ladies. Thank you, Nadine.
You too.